Welcome back to the Distressed Princess. I'm Rhonda. This video is for all the people who may enjoy Halloween, but the decorations can be a little too much, too bright, or just maybe not your taste with the black and orange. So what I'm calling this video today is falloween. So it's a combination of fall colors with a little bit of Halloween fun mixed in, and that is very neutral and could go in anyone's home. So this is the absolute easiest thing that you can do. Grab up one of the soap dispensers from the Dollar Tree and some of their really cute Halloween rub-on transfers. Now you can pick the ones that you like to use, and I like Halloween to be both on the spooky side and on the cutesy side, so I used a bunch of the different ones. It turns out looking like an expensive soap dispenser that you bought just in the holiday section at a big store. So I'm really happy with the way this turned out, and since I had these rub-on transfers on hand and I had another project in mind, I'll go ahead and go to the next DIY. I got this little white ceramic planter from the thrift store for only $1, so I'm going to put some of the rub-on transfers onto it. I'm going to do the haunted house with the moon, and then I'm going to do 2 of the big ghosts. Then I thought about it and decided to add a bat. Once you have your rub-on transfers the way you want them, then seal them with some kind of sealer, and I'm just using a matte finish acrylic sealer. And here's how the soap dispenser turned out. And here is what I'm doing with the planter. I took some fall flowers that I had. I didn't buy any new. These are just leftovers from the Dollar Tree, and I think one little strand of them might be from Hobby Lobby. So what I like to do with my florals is, instead of cutting them apart, when I can, I like to bend up the stems, so in case I want to use them for another project later and recycle them, they're not cut off of their stems. They're not at any particular length. I haven't cut them. So I like to bend them up the size that I need to fit in my container, and then use a rubber band to secure the stem in place. And keep watching to see how I made the little witch hat pick for my planter. Here we have a package of the wooden cutout witch hats from the Dollar Tree. There are so many things that you can do with these, and they can fit anyone's taste or style. But to go along with Falloween, I'm going to make the floral pick that you saw in the last DIY, and I'm going to do that with the help of my book of scrapbook paper. This is not even Halloween scrapbook paper. These are just fall colors. I got it out because I knew that this page was in there with the black and white writing. I thought it would be perfect for these witch hats. So I have 3 witch hats that I'm making, and I cut out 3 pieces of the scrapbook paper to fit over the witch hats. Then I'm going to paint some matte Mod Podge onto the witch hats, and then press the scrapbook paper firmly down on top, making sure that all the edges are stuck. And a side note here, you know I like to use what I already have on hand so I don't have to go shopping for supplies. So I'm using scrapbook paper, and it's a little bit more work than if you were to use, let's say, a Halloween napkin. If you're using a napkin, you can easily decoupage that onto a witch hat and then burn off the edges with a lighter, or remove that however you like. But that would definitely be the easier route. So if there's a Halloween napkin you like, I would suggest doing that. But I'm using the scrapbook paper because that's what I have. Make sure your scrapbook paper is dry before you move on. The way you remove the excess scrapbook paper is with some sandpaper or even just a nail file. So this is a heavy duty black nail file from the Dollar Tree that I bought just for these kinds of things because it can get in the smaller places like the crook of the witch's hat on the end. Next, I'm going to do some embellishing on my witch's hat. So I got some teeny tiny little white lace that I'm going to put around the brim, but it's too clean white, so it's going to need to get stained. And I first thought to tea stain them or coffee stain them, but you know what? Times are hard and I don't want to waste my coffee or tea. So I wondered if I could stain this lace with some acrylic paint. So I just got a little bit of water in a bowl and added 2 or 3 drops of this chestnut craft paint from Apple Barrel and mixed it up, added my lace. I let it sit about 5 minutes and it worked. Now, it didn't turn out exactly the tea stain color I was hoping for. It's a little bit orangey, but you know, it's Halloween, so that suits my purposes. And after I pressed out the excess water with a paper towel, then they lightened up a lot. So I think that that's a really good way to go if you're like me and you don't want to waste your coffee or tea. One of my hats is going to stay black. It's going to go in my planter. But the other two, I'm going to put some more stuff on. And I'm using this ephemera that I got from Amazon. It's just tons of little scraps of paper with the neatest little graphics and little words on them. So I cut up pieces of that and I used Mod Podge to kind of scrapbook piece it together on top of the witch's hat. Then I used hot glue to attach the lace. And one more thing, I thought these witches' hats needed an old button. So I got out my stash of old buttons and I glued one to the center of each. And the one that goes in the planter, like I said, I left it with just the black scrapbook paper and the lace, and then I attached a pretty little button on the front of it. This was a really fun project and one that I think would be a lot of fun to do with your kids or grandkids. And you can use them for ornaments, you could string them up like garland, or just scatter them around on a tabletop. Here they are all finished, and now I'm going to take that center one and add a dowel so it can be a pick for my planter. So I took some antiquing wax and poured a little bit into the lid of the jar, and then I took a paper towel and dipped it into the water that had the paint in it, and then into the antiquing wax, and this is how I stained my wood dowel. So you stain yours however you like, but this was just the easiest thing for me. Then I just use a whole gob of hot glue to attach the wooden dowel to the back of the hat. And I think that this witch hat is the perfect addition to my falloween arrangement. I got my inspiration for this DIY from a picture on Pinterest, and ghosts are kind of my thing this year. I'm just really into the ghost, so I'm going to do another. So using that screenshot of the Pinterest picture, I just freehand drew the ghost onto a piece of cardboard. If you need to, you could also just Google an image of a ghost and print that out and use that as a template to draw yours. And then I cut it all out with a utility knife. Next, I painted it with white chalk paint. Using just one coat of paint, I was still able to see my eyes and mouth and other markings I made on the ghost through the paint, so I can draw them back in with a black paint pen later. So here I am with my black paint pen, and I'm going to draw in all those pieces. And to really make this ghost come to life, make sure that you do black paint pen around the edges too. Now my inspiration picture had other colors on top of the white. He wasn't just a clean white ghost, he was kind of dirty. So I'm using some beige paint and I'm gonna kind of mix with some white paint. So I've got white paint on my paintbrush and I'm gonna dip the brush into the beige paint so that they kind of mix together to make a muted whitish beige. And I'm gonna do some shading. I'm starting out light because the lighter the better. When you're starting out, you can always darken up, but hard to take away if it's too dark. So start light and build, and just put some shading all over the ghost. And really, to make it the most consistent shading, I did have to go over some of the places where I had painted in black, but I'll just mark those back in later. And as a matter of fact, I didn't like how I drew that arm in, so I just took some of my white paint and painted right back over it and tried again. Now that I was happier with his arm, then I went back with the beige paint, just the straight beige paint, and I put in some darker shading. Then, just because I thought it looked good, I took some of the white and I swooped some of that on top. Then I went back over my black marks, my eyes and mouth one more time, and he's done. And I think that he is pretty impactful, and I love him on my coffee bar. So when I was thinking about Falloween, I was thinking a lot of things nature related, like the movie Practical Magic. So I decided to go out into the yard and gather up some little sticks, and I'm going to make a spider web with them. One stick was too long, so I cut him down. Now, attaching the sticks together I knew might be difficult, but I just needed a temporary fix until I could get my thread wrapped around there. So I'm using hot glue, and this takes some patience. You're going to have to use a lot of hot glue and let it dry completely. Your two sticks in an upside down L shape, I guess I should say, and then add in your other two sticks the same way, just using hot glue. And I'm always impatient, so I'm using my hair dryer on the cold setting to blast that hot glue until it's dry. Now for the fun part. I'm using some embroidery thread in an off-white color. Actually, it's kind of a tan color. And that's what I'm going to make the spider web with. So I started out by just tying one end of that string or thread onto one of the sticks, the one facing down. Then I began weaving in and out of the sticks over, under, just a couple of times. And then I did several thick wraps round and round up in the corner to hold all the sticks together. And I put some hot glue under the threads so that it could stick everything all together. Now, I've never made a spider web before. I was just imagining how I thought it should be done. And the way I did it was I wrapped around the first little stick, and then I took it over to the next one and wrapped around. And then the next stick I wrapped around. And then the next stick I wrapped around. And I just kept going on just like this. When I got to this top stick, I wondered, well, how am I going to turn around and go back the other direction? So I wrapped around twice. When I come to the end of, one end of the spider web, I wrapped that twice. And then the next stick I went under. And then you'll see the next stick I go over and wrap around. And then the last stick I'll go under and wrap around. And so that's how I continued on until I had spider webs all the way down my sticks. When I came to the end, I wrapped several times around that stick, and then I tied a knot. I attached mine to my industrial shelf using floral wire. Now let's take a look back at all our Falloween decorations. Time for a cute cat video. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hit that subscribe button if you liked what you saw today. And I really enjoyed this Halloween video. If you would like to see more Halloween or more traditional Halloween, just let me know. I am open for suggestions. So drop me a comment down below and I'll see you next time. Bye.